Well, the Nigerian Red Cross says 26.5 million people are in danger of acute hunger in Nigeria and are in dire need of urgent aid. Well, to reduce the harsh effect of the current cost of living crisis, the organization has announced a hunger crisis appeal fund in collaboration with the commercial bank, where philanthropists and well-to-do citizens are encouraged to donate funds to help provide humanitarian aid for vulnerable Nigerians. Well, the humanitarian organization says the partnership will raise funds for emergency reliefs in areas like healthcare, nutritional support for pregnant and lactating mothers, water, sanitation, and hygiene initiatives.
The Nigerian society is deeply concerned about the escalating food insecurity crisis in Nigeria, which threatens the lives and well-being of millions of vulnerable citizens. NRC is taking urgent action to alleviate this crisis and to mitigate its devastating impact on Nigerian people, in line with the Nigerian Act of 1960, to act as auxiliary to the government to alleviate human suffering wherever it may be found. Our 800,000 strong community-based volunteers are present in all the 36 states of the country, including the federal capital territory, ready to respond to humanitarian crisis, even in the most difficult to access communities and conditions.
We are particularly delighted to partner with the Nigerian Red Cross Society in this bold initiative. Nigeria Hunger Crisis Emergency Appeal to reach out to 1,092,030 people. That is to say 182,050 households in 11 states.
Many Nigerians who have the ability, who have the means, even in this harsh environment, that they become generous, that they open up their heart and partner with Nigeria Red Cross to collect resources and allow Nigeria Red Cross to respond to this crisis and support Nigerians who are suffering tremendously from hunger, from lack of nutrition, and all associated diseases that come with it.
We're joined now by the Secretary General of the Nigerian Red Cross, Abubakar Kende, who's right here. Good to see you and thanks for your time. We saw you in that report, and you just resonate or echoed what many Nigerians are talking about. Perhaps now this is the very first time we're getting to put our hands on data, and it is coming from the Nigerian Red Cross. Let us in on what your findings are at the moment.
Thank you very much for having me. Since June 2021, Nigerian Society, in collaboration with the International Federation of Red Cross Societies, actually undertook an assessment in the North Central and Northwestern state in particular concerning the food insecurity situation. And we observed that about 4.1 million people actually are in dire need of food support in June 2021. And for this purpose, we jointly with the Federation launched an international appeal to support Nigerians actually in bringing assistance for them in the form of multi-purpose cash assistance, and then health and care, and of course nutrition. So subsequently, the condition actually continued to worsen. And as of today, this food insecurity has gone beyond the 7 states that we did assessment to nearly over 50% of the states in Nigeria. And I mean, last year also, the government of the Federation actually declared insecurity, the food insecurity, emergency on food insecurity in Nigeria. And it became very necessary for us as an auxiliary to government to double our efforts to support Nigerians that are in their need of this food assistance. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, we are partnering with Nigerian banks, fellow Nigerians also, to see how we can raise more funds to support Nigerians locally. So that's actually the essence of our today's campaign and today's media briefing, so that you will assist us to reach out to Nigerians who has capacity to assist their fellow Nigerians to support them in terms of funds, food, cash, food items, non-food items that actually the non-FI kids, we said, that they require in order to overcome this challenge.
Right. So, and you've come up with this number, 26.5 million people.
Yes.
From what you're saying, you're limiting this to 7 states in the country, or
no, 50
or is
now,
it widespread?
No, now across Nigeria at the moment.
Across Nigeria, northeast,
yes,
south, and what have you.
Yes.
Great. Now, how do you expect to get this aid? Is it in cash? Is it in goods? Is it in services? And how exactly do you plan? What's your strategy in terms of, distributing this aid?
Yes, like we mentioned, we have volunteers across Nigeria and all the local governments, 774, about 800,000 of them. Okay. And the idea is that they are able to assess situations in the remote communities to actually identify those who are in critical needs. So as we are able to get some resources, some funding available, we register beneficiaries, targeted beneficiaries, focusing more on women and children, lactating mothers, as we mentioned. So we bring in what we call the multi-purpose cash assistance. Through voucher assistance, we do cash transfer through the approved banks, and of course also cash institutions that are non-banks by the central bank, in providing this assistance to these people. At the same time, we also try to support their basic need in terms of health care. So where they could be able to assess and afford to obtain treatment from the primary healthcare services across the country, and also tertiary institutions where necessary. So we are also training particularly women group on how they can have some resilience, some actually skills to be able to cope with this crisis. There are quite a number of single women, households, particularly in the northeastern part of Nigeria, following the insurgency. So it became very obvious that it is very critical that these people need to be empowered so they can be able to feed the family, no matter how small. And like I said, we had about 13% funding when we launched the appeal in June 2021. And because of this demand now, actually, many Nigerians are already feeling this, and we really want to double our efforts, I said, to complement the effort of government. So I feel it is important to also emphasize, to inform our fellow Nigerian citizens on the need to support their fellow Nigerians on this crisis. So we have opened an account to our web, where people can actually pay, and like we said, we are also able to, to receive in-kind assistance, to also the people that have been affected.
The issue here, novel, by the way, well done to you and your team. But when I heard cash transfer, it reminds me of the government's conditional cash transfer, and you know what that means. For anything like that, the intentions are usually good, and once you get the opportunity, and you have the opportunity, and the temptation comes in, and you veer off. So how do you hope to actually guide against this, so that whatever you get in at the end of the day will not have the same ugly story as we've seen from the government quarter? Yes,
precisely. We have had quite over a decade experience in cash transfer in Nigeria, and of course across the world. And as I mentioned, we are also having additional support from the International Federation of Red Cross Societies in this situation. And we have done quite a number of transfers. I think over maybe about 50 million persons have been reached by our cash transfers since 2010. And I want to assure...
Across the country?
Across the country, yes. So I want to assure you that, like I mentioned, we are using the approved institutions by the government for this cash transfer. We provide ATM cards to beneficiaries who are registered with their numbers, and then we authorize the finance service provider to activate, to pay in the money for them to cash the money. And then where some local governments that have no access to banks, we still have local governments where no banking system at all. So certain mobile money agents have been approved by the government. We also engage them, and they ensure that they give this funding to the people. And like I mentioned, we have... Do
you have a way of assessing, at the end of the day, that these funds, or whatever you're giving, whatever interventions you're coming up with, actually do get to the, end target? Yes. Do you have that?
For sure,
in place? Okay.
Each community we are giving support. We have community response committee.
Right.
The committees, each community we are dealing with, they have local people there that have been engaged to spearhead the distribution. So also the utilization of the funds or the food that we are given after distribution. So we do conduct what we call post-distribution monitoring immediately 2 weeks after distribution to know and to also hear how the people are benefiting and how they are utilizing those things. Moreover, we also train the people, you know, sometimes not just giving the cash, you train people on how to utilize their funds, right, so that they are able to secure and make optimal utilization of what they receive. Even the food items we give also, we train people, this is what you should do with this is what you will do. And like I mentioned, we have been doing this actually, we have gotten support previously, we have collaborated with UNICEF, with USAID, with ECOWAS, with Islamic Relief, with a number of organizations, in addition to our movement partners, that is the International Federation.
So how long will this go? Is it for the foreseeable future, or is there a termination date?
Well, we are optimistic actually. The step government has taken, and then with our own additional support, will actually lower this challenge in a very short while, so that people can be able to access basic food. I mean, some of the situations are being compounded by a global crisis also. It's not just Nigeria. You know, many countries are experiencing similar challenge. You are aware of this crisis in Russia and Ukraine, and also recently with the Gaza-Israel crisis. So they all confounded the problem. So the demand for food also to people who have been impoverished is also very high globally. So it's not just Nigeria. So, but what is important here is that we know the issue of insecurity is actually exacerbating the situation here. And I believe government is taking a lot of measures to address this issue, so that people can be able to go to their farms to cultivate and then be able to also to bring their food.
Very quickly, I mean, and this is an aside, though remotely, you know, connected to what you're doing. I mean, it's interesting to hear from you that you've been involved in cash transfer in the last 10 years or so, which means it comes with a lot of experience. You've learned a lot in terms of the pitfalls and all of that. Government has embarked on this program, conditional cash transfer, over, you know, the last few years or so. Has the Red Cross, your organization, been approached by government to assist? I mean, since you have, you know, some experience in it.
Or you sell your style.
Yeah, well, we have some platforms or forum where we discuss generally about how to do the aligning best practice, sharing best practice with also government agencies in Nigeria in this aspect. But the fact remains the same. Actually, most of the support we receive come from international. And like I mentioned, we have a lot of learning from our sister national societies. I want to give you an example with the work we did in Turkey. I mean, the Turkish Red Crescent Society. Right. We got over 6 million euros for transfer to people that were affected by the situation. Yeah. So what I mean here is that we are not just building on local experience. We have people that come to support us, to supervise, to monitor, to see how effectively and efficient our system is. And based on the responsibility given to us actually by the government, also the constitution, and then we have really impacted on people's lives.
What are the challenges for you in terms of this disbursement?
The major challenge we have actually is the issue of resource constraint. There are a lot of demand, many people are affected, but we have a limitation to what people have. I mean, the intervention we had, I mean, like the one supported by ECOWAS, where we provide food and of course cash, you know, you realize that there are many people that are affected, but we are unable to reach all of them. So this is the major challenge we have. But definitely, I mean, as far as the capacity and competency to deliver this, and I think the Nigerian system is very able to handle this, and we're able really to work and deliver to the people that are in their need.
Fantastic, great. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight, and well done with what you do. Abubakar Kende is Secretary General, Nigeria Red Cross Society.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for joining us.